Hello, Plywood people. Good morning, and it is so, just what a cool room to be in, right? Let's hear it for Jeff, the great Jeff. Jeff, Jeff knows how to throw a party. You put a room full of brilliant people in a room and just see what happens, and then you throw an idiot on stage and then see what happens. And it was funny. Robbie was super excited that I was coming. He didn't understand why he's not coming, why he wasn't here. I'm like, dude, you're in 4th grade. He's like, you need help, and that was literally what he was wanting to do. And so I was like, man, I'm speaking to a bunch of really smart people. What do I say? He was like, something awesome. And so this is my attempt at that. I even handmade my slides today so that you would know I really care about you. I wanted this to be really good. I love rooms like this, but specifically I love this room because Plywood has been so special to me. I came to the very first one. It was just like a thing. I was at a point in my life where I was at a job that I wasn't exactly happy. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I was working in marketing. I was able to do some creative things, but I still wasn't able to do what I felt like was work that mattered. So in the middle of the search, I found out about this event, and I came to it. And so I showed up, and I wasn't doing anything that I was really super proud of yet. And all these other people were brilliant. Like there was these people who were performing heart surgeries on kittens and doing things that are just really impressive. And I'm like, I can't eat with a fork. I don't know why I'm here. And so I was walking around and I was trying so hard to be cool. And there's all these people who look like they're straight out of some Mumford & Sons video. And and I was like, I don't belong. And I'm pasty and weird looking. And so we're walking around and people are like, so what do you do? And I'm like, I'm in between things, doing stuff. I'm really open heart surgery on kittens, stuff like that. I was trying really, really hard to just fit in, and I was feeling really, really small. And I remember at lunch, I was exhausted at attempting to explain to people that, yeah, I'm doing this one job. It's not really what I like, but I really want to do this, and yeah, I don't belong. So I was just tired, and I was at lunch, and there was a guy. His name was Brian, and Brian Preston, some of you know quite well. And Brian was like, I just went, I don't do anything. I don't belong here. And he was like, man, I work at a car wash. And I was like, I love you. Let's be best friends. And it's been really great to see the beauty that he's created. This stuff on the table with Layman Luther, that's something that he worked and he made happen. And it's just been really, really incredible to see grow for him. And in myself, there's been this weird journey. This was not a project I was like, okay, we're going to go viral, man. We're going to do these videos. This was, hey, me and my little brother-in-law, we love to make videos. We loved we were recording little songs, and this was an intentional way for he and I to spend time together. We just wanted to do stuff, and so we make things out of Legos. We do all sorts of different things. But we're like, around election time, we thought it would be really cute if he's in a suit, and all these people online were posting Facebook statuses in all caps, and it was a very heated time. And so I was like, let's just put something online that's really happy, that's just joyful. So we filmed him, and we put it online, and we had fun doing it, and 200 people watched it, and we're like, yeah, this is great. And then we made a second one, and 2,000 people watched it, and we were like, oh no, what is going on? And then people were like, you need to make another one. And Robbie's like, let's make another one. So we did, and the next one was one that really caught on. And so as this happened, we started to figure out, okay, well, what can we do to actually make this something that's fun, but that actually matters? That's the work that we're wanting to do. And so that's what we've been working on. This is a big number, because if you're going to speak to brilliant people, oh, that's my name. That's me. So there are nearly 3 billion people under the age of 20. And this is something that has always been close, near and dear to my wife and I, because we really believe in young people. And we started a camp that was 3 years ago that was about we're pointing kids in the direction of living a life that matters. So how can we really just spend time with them, empower young people, encourage them? And because I remember, this is me when I was 14 and I was making videos in my bedroom. And I would just film again and again because thank goodness YouTube didn't exist yet. Because there would be hours and hours of me reading poetry about girls that didn't love me back, songs about mosquitoes, embarrassing footage. But I remember sitting in that room and thinking that my voice didn't matter, that I had nothing to add to the world, so let me just make this sad video that's songs about cats, which I wrote many. So it's really close to our heart, because I think that in order for us to change the world, maybe we should all become a little bit more like kids. There's a point in our lives where we remember that anything is possible, where we feel like anything can be created, that you can do whatever, but then it gets lost because somehow you're convinced that you don't matter, what you have to say isn't good enough, you're not talented enough, you're pale and weird, and you don't belong at this event. So when we started Kid President, it came out of the belief that kids really can change the world. So what if there was a kid in charge, and what might that look like? And this is Kid President's can phone, and I'm not going to unravel, well, I'll unravel it because then it makes it real. But this is just, I don't know, how many of you remember playing with a can phone growing up? Yeah, it's the best. Like you pull it out and you stretch the string, and don't tell anybody, but this isn't connected to anything. It's magic. So this is the can phone, and we thought it would be really neat to just start mailing out can phones to different people and see if they would have a conversation with a 9-year-old over Skype. And it's been the neatest thing because we've had lots of different people who just they'll open the package and they get super excited about it because it opens up this whole thing where they like talk and they laugh. It's really funny to be on a Skype chat with Josh Groban, and he's doing this, and he's making fart noises back and forth with the 9-year-old. And I'm like, I have this on tape. This is brilliant. So there's nothing special about this can other than we made it special. We just said this is Kid President's can phone, and it can connect anywhere. And in doing so, and we have been able to connect to special people. This is Bob Goff via a coffee cup that he created. We even used a magic Etch-a-Sketch to talk to a rock star, Andrew WK. And in doing so, one of the first ones we mailed was to the creator of Robbie's favorite TV show, Adventure Time. Any Adventure Time fans? Yeah. It's the best show on TV. And we mailed this to the creator of the show. And we had a blast. He got so excited about it, and so he had the writing staff meet up, and we filmed this conversation, and we laughed the whole time. And in helping him prep for the interviews, I'm thinking like, how would Diane Sawyer prepare for an interview? And I'm like doing research and doing all this stuff, and he's getting bored, and I was like, one of the questions you could ask him is to be your friend. And this was his response, was, we already are best friends. And that was really powerful to me, because in my interactions with these people, I'm thinking, you're famous, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I don't want to, and it's already weird to be asking these things of you. And he's approaching it from, we're already best friends, like, let's just have fun. And so it was funny, in the interview, if you watch, it's online, it's him talking to Pinward, the creator of Adventure Time. He asked the question because I asked him to, he's like, can we be best friends? And Pinward's response was, we already are best friends. And you can hear Robbie go, I told you. Yeah, cool. So I grew up on a farm in a small town about the size of this theater. And in growing up in a small town and on a farm, one of the things that I think I've learned is that having a crop, the secret is hard work and a lot of magic. It's equal parts hard work and magic. And that's been what this has really been. We made some videos, and it was hard work, but there's also been a whole lot of magic. There's nothing special about this can phone, but the fact that it is now connected to all of these different people in media and leaders across the world, and even to the President of the United States. And I have no way to explain that. As I share this stuff with you, I don't want you to think that I don't think I've fooled you by now into thinking I know what I'm talking about. But I want to leave you empowered today, because there's people in this room who should be on this stage right now sharing their story instead of me, but it's early and we're kicking this off together as a family. But in doing so, I know that in this room there are some people that I'm speaking to who are already up to something remarkable that the world needs to know about, that the world needs to experience, that humanity will be better because your project succeeds. And so I hope that as I share this, that you don't think, oh, I should make a video with a little kid in a suit. I hope that you realize that there's hard work and magic in something that you're already doing. Because we had no idea that when this video would go online, that it would connect with now nearly 28 million people. We posted this video. It was usually our videos go online on Thursdays, and on the Monday before, the week before, I have to submit like a rough draft, and then the team at Soulpancake, they send notes back. In this video, there was no notes. Like they didn't have time because they were all busy, and so it just went online, and nobody had even really seen it. And I was thinking, nobody's really going to even watch this one. This is one that I'm happy with, and it's just going to pass us for another episode, for another week. We're just doing the work. And it was really nuts because I started to see all these people posting the video and sharing it, and my phone started ringing, and it kept ringing, and I was like, oh no, people are actually watching this video. I don't know if like you ever growing up were in class and you passed a note, and the teacher you're wanting to pass a note to maybe some really cute person on the other side of the classroom, and you start passing the note, and you're like, this is crafted just for that person, and then the teacher sees it and goes, read it to everybody. This is for the whole class. That's what it felt like, because all of a sudden, it's like the teacher grabbed the note and went, no, let's let everybody read it. And I was like, no, it wasn't meant for everybody. This was just for that few people who were already watching our show. And then now I can't explain what we're doing to people. Like, it was out of control. I couldn't control the message. There was all these people watching the video that had no context. I was scared out of my mind. For 3 days, I didn't sleep. We were scared. I was like, oh, what have we done? Like, this is terrible. By 2 days, it had been seen by 1 million people. And by 3 days, it was by 4 million. And by that Wednesday, it had been seen by almost 9 million people. And I'm like, I can't count that high. I don't know this many people. I can't explain to them why we did this, but it's just living out there. And so in my panic, I learned something that I would like to share with you, that if I could shake myself a year ago, I would say, okay, do this. Because in that moment, our family became slammed with phone calls and emails and requests to do commercials for energy drinks, for him to be in a rap video with Nelly. Like that wouldn't be good for anybody. It was all these just insane things. Like, hey, could you come talk to my dental hygienist? Like, what? Like, okay. It was just request after request. And so we had to sit down as a family and say, okay, this is insane. What is happening? And so we had to just sit down and have a meeting, and we said, okay, at this point, we could almost do anything. So what do we want to do? What story do we want to tell? Where do we want to go? And so we began to map out, here's what we want to do. Here's what we want to say. Here's where we want to go. And that was a huge weight off our shoulders, because suddenly when those energy drinks came calling, we had it's not on our roadmap. Like, that's not what we're about. That's not the story we're trying to tell. And it became really hard because we had some really cool things come that I would have normally been like, ooh, shiny, yes. And instead, we were like, it doesn't fit. I remember when Nickelodeon called, and I was like, I have to tell Nickelodeon no? Like 8th grade Brad would have punched me. Like, this is the worst. But it didn't fit with our roadmap. And so I was thinking, this is we've made a mistake, but at least this is going to be the story our family wants to tell, because we want to keep this pure. This is not about fame. This is about how can we create something that's full of joy that moves people into meaningful action. And so we began to do things that kept with that. And the video was actually dedicated to a girl that our family was close to, fighting cancer, Gabby. And so that became like, let's point everything back to other people. And so that was something we really, as a family, wanted to teach Robbie in this journey. This isn't about you. This is about reflecting the spotlight to other people. And so we go on CNN and we showed up with signs. And they're like, oh, what are you doing with signs? Like, this is not what you're supposed to do, guys. We're like, we don't care. And in our interviews, we began asking every person the same question: the world would be more awesome if. And we had classrooms all over the country asking this question. And it became exciting because it started a dialogue with people about how could I create a more awesome world? And we've gotten beautiful responses. And then we've been able to show the world this simple truth, which is to dance anyway. There's some days in which life is tough and life is difficult. We didn't want this to be part of the videos, but it just became something that we had to share. But one of the things, Robbie and his sister, they both have a bone condition in which their bones break. He's a normal kid, but he's had over 80 breaks since he was born. And it's a brittle bone condition called osteogenesis imperfecta. And so, like, we didn't want this to be the story of a kid who's broken. Like, this is a story of a kid, yes, that's part of what he does, but he dances anyway. He's always been that type of kid. And so that's been something that's really resonated with people and of all ages. And so we got a phone call from the White House. And I was sitting there thinking, like, okay, this is it. This is the end of the Kid President Project. Like, we're not going to do this. And then the White House called, and I was like, oh, hi. Yeah, we would love to say hello to the president. That would be fun. So we got to make a video for them, for the White House Easter egg roll. And in doing so, we wanted to stay true to our story, which is a story that every little voice matters. We don't feel like we had a big machine behind us, but just can and string and duct tape. And so we made a video that showed lots of kids, and the idea was like, there's a secret network that kids have in which they relay important information. And the most important is in classrooms where they pass a note back and forth. They whisper on the steps leading up to the schoolhouse. They receive messages in secret underground headquarters. You can see there that this is a real place in which kids across the world are monitoring the global happiness scale. So she's receiving a transmission. She passes on the transmission to this young man who is stationed forever in a treehouse. In his tree fort, he then raises this red flag because something very important has been received. It's been spotted by this kid who lives in the wild frontier, who then crafts his message into a paper airplane, which he throws that somehow lands in an urban environment. This child reads it, runs down a hallway, places it on the desk of the kid president, who receives the message. And then connects to the leader of the free world, which makes no sense, but yet it totally does. I don't know about you, but sometimes I look at myself and I think, I have nothing, I can't do this. I don't know how I could ever add anything into the conversation that so many of you are doing. All I have is can and string, and one of the important things we've been able to teach kids is that your voice matters, and that a small message, especially when it's important and it's crafted in love, will find its way to where it needs to be. We got to go to the White House, which was an amazing experience. A year ago, if you had asked me, Brad, will you go to the White House and be in the Oval Office? It would have been more realistic for me to say, if I broke in, I would have believed that story more than you were invited into the Oval Office. So he and I got to go in, and it was amazing because the president no longer was the president. He was just a dad. he turned into this dad, and he's really sweet. And we made a video that got to sit behind the desk. What's funny, the moment he got behind the desk, Robbie immediately picked up the phone, and you could see the president got really tense, like, let's not do that. Let's put that down. Let's put that down. Okay, all right. Let's not cause an incident. He handed him a package of stuff, and he was like, hey, so I've got gifts for you. And he brings him this gift bag, and Robbie's pulling things out, and there's like a medallion that's got the presidential seal. And he's like, cool. And there's a yo-yo, and he's like, whoa, you have your own yo-yo? And the president's like, yeah, I do. And then he pulls out this book in which he explains to people. People are like, so what did the president give you? He's like, a book of rules. And like, he gave you the Constitution. Like, he gave you this really amazing bound version of the Constitution. And so there we are in this room, and we're with the president. And so he leans down, and he's so kind, and he just says, young man, I'm really proud of you. He shows him some amazing things. He shows him this bust of Martin Luther King. He shows him a program from when he gave his speech, the I Have a Dream speech. He has the Emancipation Proclamation and explains to him what that is. Robbie asked the question, why were there slaves? And Obama's answer was so profound. He just was like kind of taken back, and all the camera people in the Secret Service are listening on, and he explained, well, there was a time in which our country, there were a few people who believed that it was okay. And thankfully, now we live in a world where you are surprised that we would ever do that. And it was so powerful. And I look over, and the White House photographer, she was like crying. And I'm thinking, like, does this happen all the time? And then we leave, and I get to have a moment with the president, and the Rolodex in my mind is going, like, what do you say to the president? I'm sure, like, I was blank, and I just stared at him, like, It's like, but as we left, he just said, keep putting light out into the world. It's working. And I shook his hand and walked out, and then I just cried because it was too much for me to take. And then I was thinking, okay, well, that's the end. That's it. But then the United Nations called us. And so when the world called, we answered. And so this is a video that we just did that has not been released yet, but this is, we got to shoot in the General Assembly. They opened up all the doors, and this is, so if we can turn up the audio just a little bit, this is us at the United Nations. So now we've found ourselves in a weird spot in which we are given opportunities like that. And wherever you are, there was a moment in which I thought this is the end for our project, and I was okay with that because we'd had fun, and this was just something we started because we loved it, and it was fueled by love, and it still is. And so we were like, let's just navigate this in a way that keeps it pure, and it's led to some really beautiful places. And so for you, in whatever place you find yourself, this is a room full of grown-ups that I think Kid President would approve of, because you are people who wake up every day and you give the world a reason to dance. There are many people living today who do not feel that or have that. In part of the video, we got to stand in front of the Berlin Wall, which is pieces of the Berlin Wall. And so I got to explain to Robbie what that was. And he recited a poem that he and I pieced together. But it says this, that the world is so big and we're all so small. Sometimes it feels like we can't do anything at all. But the world can be better in spite of its flaws. The world can be better, and you'll be the cause. So keep giving hope and keep spreading love, because people like you are what makes it go. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I remember a year and a half ago, you and I were at
Yeah, the retreat.
There was this moment where everyone kind of goes off on their own, and you were sitting there, and I remember you saying, I came up to you and you said, "Yeah, I feel like there's something else that's like gonna happen." And is this one on? There you go. I remember, we were at Serenbe, and you were like, I remember there's something, I feel like there's more I'm supposed to do. And Kid President didn't exist back then. And the success you've had this past year has been unrealistic, actually. And you alluded to some of the things you and your wife and your whole family have had to process. So I want to ask you to answer two questions. One, what has been the moment where it was like this great disbelief, where you sat back and you're like, I can't believe this happened, the greatest moment? And then the second, what has been the greatest tension you've had to work through this past year in the midst of all this success?
Yeah. I think because everything happened so fast, so there's not a lot of time to process, because even when you get the phone call from the White House, we're like, I freaked out and was excited, but it wasn't like I didn't fully grasp until we got there and we're on the White House lawn, and we had just walked out of the Oval Office, and I'm trying to explain to the family what we just experienced. And for Robbie and I both, we're just like, this was so huge. But I became a dad at the same time. Like in December, I became a dad. And then in January, this video goes viral. So it looks like we landed on another planet all of a sudden. And so we're at the White House, and this huge moment, it hits me, this is huge. Like, this is a huge moment. And then my son has a major blowout in his outfit, and we had to change him on the White House lawn. And I'm thinking, okay, back to reality.
Back to the real life, yeah.
This is great. Like, yeah, this is not glamorous. This smells bad. Like, he was just touched by Michelle Obama, and now this. But the biggest tension has been, there's lots of people who have a direction for us, who have a game plan for us, who say, why aren't you doing this? We want you to do this. And there was one guy who called in particular early on, and he was like, hey, so I want to be your manager. And he was really like pushy. I want to be your manager. We've got these commercials that you can be part of. You can do this. You're going to land on the sitcom. You're going to do this. And I was like, I don't think that's where we want to go. He's like, I'll call you back. I'm like, I don't know. And he kept calling, and he was like, look, kid, you've got to make a decision, because in about a month, nobody's going to care. And I was like, well, about a month ago, I didn't get calls like this, so I'm okay with that. And so we were like, we just have to stay our path. And there continues to be people who say, oh, well, he should be on this. And we're like, well, that's not what we're doing. And so you just have to, the big thing we've learned is you just have to put your stake in the ground and say, this is the story we want to tell. And we're only going to make decisions that stay true to that.
That's great.